pleased to welcome you for our talk, Recycling and Creativity, Changing the Journey of Our Stuff to Help the Planet with Yulia Shtern, a visual artist joining us from Colombia. This event is presented in conjunction with our I3C Artists exhibit at CAA's new CAA at Canal Gallery in Kendall Square. So please make sure to stop by 650 East Kendall Street before the show closes on May 12th. There will be a closing reception on May 12th from 5 to 7 p.m. And so we also hope you join us there. I'm joined tonight by I3C group founder and curator, Adriana Pratt. Adriana, I'm going to read your bio very quickly, is an academically trained scientist with a PhD in biophysics turned abstract artist. As you speak with her, you will learn that Adriana has also been passionate about the environment since her childhood days in Argentina, when her father educated her on the value of nature that provides us with food and beauty. This understanding influenced her curiosity that led to life choices, including her decision to become a scientist and a vegetarian. So I'm happy to hand the mic over to Adriana. Folks, if you do have questions or comments, again, put those into the chat, and we do ask that you remain muted for the speaker portion of the event.
Thank you very much for that intro, Erin. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, everybody, for joining tonight. And I am very excited to introduce you to Yulia Shtern, a Canadian visual artist and a member of the I3C artist group. For over a decade, Yulia has worked as a scenic and costume designer for theater, dance, and opera while maintaining an active visual art practice. Yulia earned a BFA in drawing and painting from OCAD University in Toronto and an MFA in scenic design from University of British Columbia in Vancouver. Both her design work and her art have been recognized by numerous awards, including the second place award for sculpture by the Blue Lily of Florence Cultural Association, which she won in 2019 in Florence, Italy. Yulia's art has been exhibited internationally and can be found in private collections across North America and Europe. Her series, Magical Zoo, consists of sculptures of animals created from upcycled materials and adhered with transparent varnish glue. This collection places an emphasis on environmental preservation and on sustainable artistic practices. You can enjoy some of Yulia's Magical Zoo creatures in the current I3C exhibit that Erin mentioned. So on view until Friday, May 12th. Lastly, in her personal life, Yulia takes a special interest in gardening, traveling the world, and in the study of foreign languages. Muy bien. I welcome Yulia today, and thank you, Yulia, and let's get you started.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me, and Adriana, thank you for inviting me to be a part of IC3 and I3C rather artist group. I'm delighted to have the work in the current show at the Cambridge Art Association. And today I'm going to speak to you about recycling and creativity, specifically the journey that the items that enter our home undertake when they exit our homes again. And I'm going to start from this image right here that I'm sure looks familiar. You probably have something similar somewhere around your municipality, pretty much no matter where you are in the world. This is where all of our unwanted materials end up at some point. Some sooner, some later, but this is basically where about 90% of everything that exits our home again will end up. This image was actually very hard to pick because when I looked up landfills, there are hundreds, literally hundreds of images that all look very similar. So I couldn't really decide which one to stop on and just picked one random one. But this is something to keep in mind when we allow for something to enter into our homes, that this is the end of the journey for the materials. The landfills, not only they're, well, a great displeasure to look at, but they actually are quite dangerous in a number of ways. Partly because the decomposing materials produce such a mix between themselves. There are leftovers of all kinds of chemicals. There is a temperature that gets generated by the disintegration. So all these sites have some sort of a contamination associated with them. Every single one a uniquely different type of contamination, depending on what has been disposed of in that area. Now, let me take you through, oh yes, this sign here that we're all familiar with. This has been presented to us as a solution to that previous problem, that by utilizing this process, we can somehow avoid having our materials end up at those sites. This is actually not exactly accurate, and I'm going to show you why. Basically, what happens to the materials that enter the recycling system is first and foremost a downcycling. The materials, each time that they get through the system, get downgraded to a lower degree. Some items can be recycled practically 100%, but there are very few, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit later. Now, another thing that could be done is upcycling the materials, meaning that the value of the materials that have been upcycled has actually increased through the process of upcycling. And artwork made of upcycled materials certainly produces that result. Now, first and foremost, plastic. This is what has entered the recycling system the most. And also, at the same time, most plastics that have been produced have never entered the recycling system at all. The last figure I heard, I think, was about 9 out of 10 plastic items that are recyclable have never actually made their way into the recycling system at all. The ones that have can actually only be recycled about 2 to 3 times at most, because each time that they get recycled, the quality gets downgraded. And the same item cannot be produced from that raw material. Now, these bottles can only be made once. The next stage is perhaps some sort of a saran wrap or something, well, for the lack of a better word, flimsier. And maybe one more cycle would be available depending on what was produced on the previous one, and that's about it. And then, of course, whatever remains would likely still go to the landfill. These are the various types of recyclable plastics. It looks like a lot could be done with plastics. In reality, that's not exactly the case. A lot of these types of plastics can only be recycled in very special facilities, very specific facilities with very specific sets of chemicals, setups, and conditions. Many municipalities would only take about 2 to 3 of these types of plastics into the recycling system at all, even though you're encouraged to put them in the bin. Now, paper and cardboard is something that looks deceivingly like something that could be fully recycled. Is in fact not the case either, because every time a cellulose product goes through the recycling system, the fibers in the material get shorter, and shorter, and weaker. So at best, in the best case scenario, this type of material can be only recycled about 7 times. And then it would just disintegrate. Metal, again, on the surface, looks like something that could be recycled, but unfortunately is not always the case, because many metals cannot be recycled at all. And many metals can only be downcycled. And then, of course, they need to be sorted extensively in order to separate the various streams of recycling when the metal item enters the system. This right here is the only material that can be fully recycled, really recycled without being downcycled. It can be fully remelted and recreated into that same object. There are some downsides to recycling glass, partially when dyes are used. That, of course, needs to be separated into a separate stream. And there is one big practical consideration. Glass is very heavy. So when it gets transported to the recycling facilities, there is an increased cost just because of the weight of the material. Glass, on the other hand, is a very convenient material to just keep reusing at home. So if you have a chance to reuse glass items at home for as much as you can, please do, to prevent them from entering the system. Now, this is what happens once your recycling materials have been collected. Most recycling that is collected in North America and in Europe does not, in fact, get reworked right there on site. It gets shipped internationally. Up till 2018, most of our recycling was going to China. In 2018, a new legislation was passed in China, and basically they started noticing that what was being shipped to them was not sorted well and was not meeting any sort of standard for what could be successfully recycled. So they've limited the types of materials that can come in, and also how these materials are sorted. And what ended up happening was the North American, in particular, the North American facilities that were collecting the material were not set up to meet such a high standard. Therefore, in 2018, 2019, many of our recycling facilities, especially in Canada, it was quite visible, they became over-flooded with material that could no longer be shipped. I'm sure it was something similar in the US as well. And new agreements were entered into in Southeast Asia to find a place for our recyclables. Malaysia in particular is, I think, still currently a big market for the recyclables. Their standards are way lower, and some of our unsorted material could actually be shipped there. Now, this is what happens when it arrives. As you can see, in many of the places on the receiving end of our recyclables, the conditions are, they just won't meet any of our standards in the Western world. People often sort materials by hand. There is no protection of any sort provided to them. And I can't even imagine the level of toxicity that the workers in these facilities get exposed to. The image at the top top left, is actually electronic waste being sorted, which is extremely toxic. So again, we have to be mindful about what enters the systems, because this is where it's going to end up. Now, the places that receive our recyclables are usually not set up not only for the workers to meet some sort of a health standard, but also for the materials that exit these facilities that could not be recycled, what actually happens to them. And this is unfortunately what happens a lot of the time, simply because the places where we send our recyclables to do not have recycling systems of their own. And they can just not cope with the combination of the material that we send and what gets generated locally. The image at the bottom left is actually a very famous image. I'm sure many of you have seen it many times. But this is unfortunately the fate of much that we dispose of. Now, things to remember about recycling is that not everything that is labeled recyclable can or will be recycled. Most things that are labeled recyclable cannot be recycled indefinitely because they get downgraded in quality every time that they enter the system. It matters where and how recycling takes place, and most importantly, it takes water, energy, and chemicals to recycle. On top of that, of course, the shipment itself very resource heavy. So that system that has been presented to us as a solution is actually not functioning as a solution at all. It's a band-aid at best. Now, what else can be done? So first of all, of course, reduce, having as little of this unwanted material enter our homes to begin with, which is not always easy. For example, in the place where I live, we don't have a bulk food store. Therefore, most items that I buy, that are food items, are packaged. And there isn't really much choice in terms of avoiding that packaging coming in with the food that I would like to purchase. So, and I'm sure that too can be a case for many people. So the next best thing to do is reuse. If not indefinitely, then at least for as long as possible. Those glass jars in particular, I personally love using the glass jars for many things in my kitchen. And the last thing, of course, that we can do is recycle, very much at the bottom of the list. Now, ideally, if we want to prevent these materials from entering into the system at all, that means upcycling. So that's us finding a way to reuse the material while increasing its value. And here's where the artists come in. And there are many wonderful artists who've done really magnificent things with discarded items. This artist is based in Big Sur, California. Her name is Mariah Redding. And what she does is when she finds an item disposed of, well, thrown away really, in a national park in the US, she paints it right into the landscape of the location where it was found. And I absolutely adore her work. And then when the work is presented, she actually shows the item itself alongside the photograph, the large-scale photograph of where that item was recovered from. So I hope it's visible enough in the slide. The second image at the top from the left, the cell phone cover, I just adore that image. It's such a powerful statement. And all of these sites, every single one of them is a national park in the US. Here's some more of her work. The image at the top right is the Grand Canyon Park. The image at the bottom right, if I'm not mistaken, is actually in Alaska. Here's another artist based in the US, in Ohio. Her name is Michelle Sitchin, and she creates these wonderful tapestries from drinking straws. This is her main material. These are very large scale installations. And she's been well represented internationally in many museums with this wonderful, spectacular work. Now, this is an initiative in Nairobi, Kenya. This is a collective of artists and craftsmen. It's called Ocean Soul Africa. And what they do is they recover specifically discarded flip-flops. And from those flip-flops, they create these large-scale sculptures and also smaller artworks and even household art items. If you're interested in purchasing an item from them, there is a way to reach their website and place an order with them. This is a very interesting initiative by the artist called Arthur Bordalo. He works with a large collective of artists based in Lisbon, Portugal. And his work has been installed, his collective work has been installed internationally. These are large-scale sculptures made entirely from discarded materials and then spray painted. The idea behind this artwork is to recreate animals whose habitats have been affected by pollution and climate change. And this work, being such a large-scale work, has actually prevented many tons of material from being disposed of. On the website of this project, Bordala 2, you can actually see the instructions for how something like this can be created and assembled in your municipality. And on this slide, you can see the process. On the left, the discarded material gets installed. You can see the bits and pieces that are practically unrecognizable. The materials that are used here are pretty much anything and everything. There are toys, plastic furniture, car parts, pretty much anything at all that they can use to create those shapes. And then on the slide on the right side, you can see the final installation, spray painted and complete. This is Sarah Myers-Brand. She's one of our I3C artists, and she works with discarded materials. The materials that she uses come from both her home and also from the municipality where she lives, from the sorting station. And the stories that she tells with her material are very personal, very delicate stories. You can see it in her work. The image on the left in particular, I personally find very moving and fragile. Here is more of her work. And on the image on the right, you can see the great collection of the different items that have been created into this sculpture. I think there's some fabric there as well as some plastic pieces. Whereas the image on the left also has a piece of discarded wood. This artist, again, is based in the US, in Oregon. His name is Brian Mock, and he creates large-scale sculptures from metal and the remnants of auto industry, all things. His work is very large scale. Pretty much every single piece here is life scale or larger. The image at the center, at the bottom, is the same sculpture showing the two views of the work. The image at the top left, the cat, I think it's made entirely of nails and bolts, if I'm not mistaken. The bear is made out of auto parts. Another one of our I3C artists, Rebecca Magig-Tak. Her work is entirely made of items that are recuperated from the beaches, whatever has been washed up ashore. And the image at the bottom center has been used for the promotional material for this very exhibition. Now the images at the left and the right, I'm not entirely sure of her technique, but I believe it is crocheted and macrameed into these wonderful tapestry-like creations. Another one of our artists, Michelle Rouget, from I3C, her work is entirely upcycled plastics, non-recyclable plastics. Her work uses crochet, and the piece on the left, I think it's entirely made of cups from bottles.
Actually, from different plastics, different type of plastics, but they have been, she makes a hole and then things get kind of weaved. I mean, not weaved, but sewn.
Right. Here's another one of our artists, Martha Heller. She has a background in costume design, and she has been inspired to create these wonderful garments from the various upcycled materials. If I'm not mistaken, the image at the bottom left, it was the stamps on this envelope that she was inspired by to create this particular shape for this garment. This is another artist based in Portugal, Vanessa Barao. She creates tapestries from the discarded remains of I think it's a factory, a particular factory that she works in, that is works with rather, that is based in Porto. And these are the leftovers from the carpets that they produce. So she makes those leftovers into these beautiful tapestries. And the theme of her tapestries is under the sea world. The tapestry at the top left is actually installed in Heathrow Airport, if I'm not mistaken. It's quite a large scale, beautiful work. Now, at this point, the scale of her work has actually increased so much that she now employs a collective of weavers that help her create these tapestries. This is, again, one of our own artists from I3C, Jeffrey Nolan. He creates woven work from discarded materials as well. And these, I think, are entirely plastic creations.
And fabric. And fabric.
Fabric as well? Thank
Fabric, yes.
Another one of our artists, Cedric Harper. His process is using his own homemade paint on discarded wood. And I wish I actually had it, and now that I'm realizing it, I wish I had a chance to speak to him about the recipe for his own paint. This is fascinating. I imagine he mixes a pigment or something, but not entirely sure what he uses for vehicle. Adriana, do you know what he uses?
Maybe Carol, who is in the call, who curated a solo show recently, can speak about that. Thank you.
Oh yes, would you please?
Yulia, I think he uses house paint, and I think he uses discarded or returned paints, and maybe from some of those places that receive house materials to be reused.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Carol. Now, this is our very own Adriana, who has created the I3C group and also who curates our shows. The support for Adriana's paintings is upcycled. These are, some pieces are created on cardboard. The pieces in the center are upcycled LPs. And Adriana has an extensive background in science. Her paintings are simultaneously creating an image of geographies and maps, as well as microorganisms under a microscope. This is an artist based in Busan, South Korea. Her name is Choi So-young, and she creates those urban landscapes out of jeans. These are all specifically denim fabrics. Her work is often large scale, and what I personally find fascinating about her work is considering how difficult this material is to work with, just in terms of being able to visualize your work while attaching the pieces, how much she captures the flavor of the places that she depicts, the local urban landscapes. Here is some more of her work. Some of it is quite large scale, especially the piece at the top left. Here's another international artist, from Marseille in France. His name is Oliver Bertrand. He creates sculptures from discarded cardboard. All of this work is life size or larger. I can't imagine actually how he transports his work. It must be really quite challenging. It has actually been included in this year's Lucca Biennale, which is a biennale that is dedicated exclusively to works on paper and cardboard. Oh, this is, sorry, let me go to the previous slide one more time. His work has actually been really interesting to see evolve over the years. When it has started, his sculptures had quite a smooth, refined surface. And now the image, for example, at the top and bottom right are both very recent work, and the roughness of the surface is giving it such a dynamic quality that that is a different flavor than his earlier smoother surface work. This is some of my own work here. At the center at the top is my series Endangered, Extinct, Enslaved, which is a smaller work, and the 3 pieces in the exhibition at the Cambridge Art Association are part of this series here. My other series, Magical Zoo, are bigger, more colorful work, and all of these series are dedicated to the endangered animals. Here's another slide with some more of my work here. That is from the Magical Zoo series. I do not use any paint, and I wanted to briefly show you the process that I use. At the top left, these are my typical materials, some bits and pieces of unrecyclable plastics, and mostly food packaging, whether cardboard or plastic, and then some discarded fabrics. When I start the work, I form the shape from food packaging cardboard or Amazon envelopes. Actually, are a great material that has a great flexibility. The fibers are quite strong in that, so it's easy to manipulate them into the desired shape. Then once the shape is created, I use swatches of, again, mostly food packaging of different color, some fabrics and some plastics until the color is fully created. Now, basically, I hope this has given some inspiration in terms of what the various materials that enter our homes can be utilized for to prevent them from going into the recycling system. Cardboard in particular looks like a material that on the surface could be recycled quite well, but once again, it's 7 times at best. And then consider the magnitude of the system that takes care of our recycled items from the collection at the municipality where you're based, to the various sourcing stations, to being shipped internationally to the destination where it's going to be reworked, where safety regulations are often not a consideration at all, where the safety of the workers is not a consideration. Once these materials have been reworked at that stage and remade into a raw material that could be used again, they have to be shipped again to the place where that reuse is going to occur. Once that has taken place, those items have been created, then they get shipped to the facility from where they get distributed into, again, the perhaps the retail system. From there, they get shipped again to the places where you would purchase it from. Then they enter your home again. Then they get discarded again. Then the resulting recycled item gets downgraded. And then eventually will, the odds are it's going to end up in that very same place where I started from, the landfill. Now, the danger of landfills, let me go to this slide one more time. Well, not only they cover our beautiful planet, but again, they interfere with our environment on so many levels. Actually, there is even some evidence of migratory birds being affected by the landfills because of the temperature that gets generated by the material as it disintegrates. Some migratory birds have found that the temperature at those sites is enough for them to stay there for the winter instead of migrating to their proper routes. So again, whatever solutions we can find to prevent what has been brought into our homes from ending up here is a good solution. Absolutely anything to prevent this. Adriana, I wanted to thank you one more time for creating this wonderful group of artists and for having so many of us come together and have a way to collaborate and to, navigate ourselves towards the shared goal of fighting climate change and fighting environmental pollution.